Hey everybody, welcome on into ClayShare Day. We're actually coming towards the end, which is hard to imagine. We have this fabulous demo with Nicholai from DiamondCore Tools, and then we have Clayscapes joining us for a demo, and then I'll be doing a demo. Then we have the giveaways. And we just found out that DiamondCore Tools is going to be doing 4 sets of carving tools as part of the giveaway too. So every time we take a break, more people message us letting us know they're gonna donate something for the giveaways. So if we keep going, we'll just be giving stuff away for like the next 2 days. I don't know. It's all right though. All right, so I don't want to hold us up because we only have about 30 minutes with Nicholai. So let's go on over to DiamondCore Tools and say hi to him and see what he's up to. Hey Nicholai.
Nicholai.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for joining us here, and we're excited to see what you've got planned for us today.
Awesome. No, thank you for having us. We're really excited for this is actually our first live video. And yeah, I'm going to show you guys some carving tools.
Awesome. So, I love that you're doing your first live with us on the ClayShare Day.
All right, so feel free to answer or ask any questions as you go. Kind of what I'm going to do is I got just a plain bowl here, and I'm going to go through all these carving tools and kind of give you guys some tips and some tricks on how I would use them and how other people use them and kind of what they're used for. I will say whenever we have someone walk into our showroom here, they always ask, they see all the carving tools and they ask, oh, wow, like, you got so many, which one's right for me? And they look all similar, but they each are very different and they each create a different effect on your piece. And so when you use all of them together, you can create some really cool designs. So real quick, what I've done is if you look at all of our P tools, the P carving tools, they're kind of broken down. The numbers are random, so don't pay too much attention to those, but they're broken down into kind of our square tips, which are like these, if you can see those, our U-tips and our V-tips. And we have different sizes of each of those. And then we also have what's called like a curved blade or a straight blade. And so there is a difference for those, and I'll show you on the piece. So what I'll do first is to kind of show you each section of those. I'm going to use our trimming spinner, and I'm going to just divide this bowl into 5 sections, and then I'll carve each section with each of the different types of tools so you can kind of get the feel for what they look like on a piece. So when I use the trimming spinner, I'll just put it on here. I'm going to do 5 sections, so I use the little dark pink. And sometimes I'm a little casual about this, and I'll just put a little dot about where each section is, and it just kind of helps me for later. Just do a little dot. So I don't know if you can see that, but I just added a real small dot here just to help divide up the piece. And then what I'm going to start with is actually all the curved squares. Or actually, what I'll do first is I'm going to, what I typically like to do is further divide this. So I'm going to start with the largest of each of these types of tools. For example, this is the P7. So it's a curved 6mm square tip. And I'm just going to do a single line down just to kind of divide this piece. Now, the curved blades, they are going to go pretty deep. So these are typically what we recommend if you want like a really deep groove. And if you wanted to put some glaze into that and then wipe off the outside, you get a really good glaze fill in there. The straight blades, as you see, will be very surface level. So this is just plain clay. If you had slip on here, you would notice it even more. So again, I just did kind of a single line just to divide that up. So the square tips, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, but the square tips are one of my favorite. They create a very crisp sort of geometric straight line. When you compare it to the U shapes, it just gives the whole piece a little bit different look. So that's going to be one curved square. Now I'm actually going to do a straight square over here just to show you the difference. So the straight squares are a lot shallower, and you'll see when I make it to the end here. So you'll see even right away between the curved square and the straight square, you get a different, kind of a different effect. I will use a lot of slip a lot of the time, and if you have slip on this and use a straight square, it's perfect for just taking off the very top layer of something, any kind of straight tool. So that's going to be a straight square, and then we'll do a curved view right here. Yeah, this will be a pretty deep view. So this piece is, it's kind of on the drier side of leather hard. I trimmed it yesterday and tried to keep it bagged. If I wanted to, I could probably break this, but again, it's still leather hard. You can tell it's pretty easy to carve. If it does get a little dry, the tools still work. Sometimes you just got to pull a bit harder, but they're sharp enough. So you can actually get by carving on, not quite bone dry, but kind of firmer leather hard. So here's the straight view. And then I'll go into our V-tips. So I'll do the largest V-tip, which is a P11. I'm going to pull that. I like to go both directions. Okay, so right away, something that I want to point out is when you're using all the different tools, the square tips will leave a really nice square edge when you start and finish a groove. And that can be used later on, I'll show you. You can kind of line things up and make really square sides. When you get over to the U's, you're typically going to have a much more like kind of tapered and U-shaped groove. When that appears on your whole piece, it gives the entire thing like a different feel. So again, what I did is I did each one, I split this up going all around. And now that I kind of have my piece divided, I'll go back with these others and add all the little details. So here is the P7 again. It's a curved square, find my curved square line. So what I'm going to do now is just go through and kind of do a simple design in each of these sections. And I'll do the same thing. I'll do the same thing for each section, and you'll see how it looks when it's done. So curved square, pull this across. So one thing here you'll notice is since I have a nice sharp edge there, I can use the square just to go right up against that. And then I have a nice little square edge against there. And so I'll kind of keep playing with that. And it gives this whole section a very geometric look. So now I'll use the P15. I will say the P15 is one of my favorites. I use the P15 and the P20, these two square curved ones all the time. We'll go on the side here. So again, this is going to be a 3 millimeter, so just a little bit smaller. I usually like to square up the edge a little bit when I'm doing those. So you can see I got grooves. And then lastly, I'll do the P20. So this is a 1 millimeter square. It's pretty small, but you can see it is a little square tip. Pull that through just like that.
How thick would you say that bowl is?
I'll show you. It's 2-3 millimeters, and it's this thickness all the way through. So I am trying to be pretty careful. I left this one a little bit thicker because I knew that I was going to go pretty deep with the curved here. I can feel I have a little bit left. The curve, I would say you have more control going deep with the curved blades, but you can get a pretty deep groove. So you do want to be aware of how thick your bowl is, or whatever piece it is, so you don't go through. At the same time, I've seen a lot of people do some really interesting carvings where they actually do go through, and they leave, you have these really neat little holes all over the place. So in this particular instance, it's about that thick going through. I wouldn't want to go too cheap. Then I'm going to add a few more little designs here. So I'll come back and do something with these. Okay, so again, that's the curved square. So I'm going to do the same exact thing, but a straight square. It's just a little bit shallower. Again, if this had slip on it, I'd probably just be taking away just the outer layer of slip. So this is the 3mm curved square. It's the P19, a little bit smaller. And finally, we got the P21. So this is the 1mm straight square. I'm gonna do the same thing. So one thing on the straight squares is a lot of the straight blades, if you really wanted to, you could dig it down deeper. You're just gonna not have the same level of control. So they're really meant for kind of this light surface level, almost sgraffito. I would say if you even wanted to use straight squares or any kind of straight blade on a bone dry piece where you're just doing sgraffito, they do work really well for that. The curved blades are really gonna give you a lot of control going depth. So if you want to work with like filling in glazes or even work with like 3-dimensional textures, the curved blades are really great for that.
So we have a good question. This person has problems with the carving tools they're using chattering. Will the DiamondCore tools, carving tools, help alleviate that for them?
So chattering, typically I run into chattering while you're trimming. So I guess yes. If you're using these tools while you're trimming, you're not going to have any issues chattering, but you'll go through them pretty quick because they're really meant for carving. If you're using a DiamondCore trimming tool, it really depends on the clay. Again, if you have a kind of a firm leather hard piece, you can always create chattering. So what I would say, if you're running into issues chattering, instead of coming straight on, I would try turning a little bit at an angle, and you'll kind of catch the edge. Instead of catching the edge, the full front edge of the blade, catch it at a little bit of an angle, and that should help reduce the chattering if you're running into that. Again, if you're typically chattering is an issue with trimming, if you start to get like here, it's a little bit bone dry and I'm getting a few little lines in there, I might just have to pull it through and then come back and clean some of those up afterwards.
And I've never had any problems with the DiamondCore tools chattering. They just pull right through easy.
They do. Yeah, again, it's like if you really wanted to make it happen, you might be able to, but they all are extremely sharp with the thickness of the blade. So you'll notice right away, they'll just cut right through anything. I'll finish this one up. So far, you can even just see the difference between, so that's a curved square and a straight square. Now onto the curved U. So the U shapes, when you use them on a whole piece, they really kind of give a more, I don't know, bubbly look in a way, or more organic look. You don't quite get those straight corners like you would with a square tip. So this is going to be the P14. So it's a 3mm curved view. And the P13, which is a 1mm curved view. What I'm doing, I'm leaving these corners, and I'll come back later and do a couple more details.
So do you have replacement blades for every tool you sell, or only just for certain ones?
For every tool, yeah, every tool except the extruders. We do have a replacement blade. So everything is made to be able to put a new blade on. If you go to our website and you go to the replacement blades, there's a little drop-down menu and you can select everything. But yeah, every single one of these tools, if you eventually will work through it, you can get a replacement blade. All the fine points in the trimming tools, when you do buy a tool, they come with a replacement blade.
And we had a good question about the tools needing to be sharpened. I know the answer to this, but I feel that you answer it.
So you never need to sharpen these. They will stay the same sharpness until they're completely used up. So eventually, I mean, you are dragging this through an abrasive material, so eventually you are going to wear through the metal, but it will be the same sharpness the entire time, for the entire lifetime. So that's what's nice. You just put a new blade on and then you're good to go again.
And I just wanted to remind everybody, DiamondCore Tools is doing a special discount for the ClayShare birthday, and they're doing 10% off everything on their site. I did share that in the chat at diamondcoretools.com with the code DCTCSD22. And that includes everything except the sink, everything but the sink. So it's like everything but the kitchen sink, everything but the pottery sink.
You always got to put that in, everything but the sink. So
that's right. Everything but.
Okay, so this is a straight U. So this is a P16. It's a real small 1mm U. Straight blade. And you'll notice you do get little bits every once in a while that leaves a really nice clean edge. We got a few fun things we're working on to help with that problem. So kind of stay tuned the next couple months.
Oh, exciting. So how do you deal with issues that come up from deforming a round piece like that bowl when you're carving it?
As far as like setting it down or deforming the whole piece?
Yeah, like when you're holding it and you press against it, you might warp the rim or something.
Yeah, so that part of it, I'll say I've just gotten very careful about it. I tend to carve on the drier leather hard side because of that reason. So because I do a lot of work on the edges and I'm holding it like this, I don't want to accidentally bend it. So a lot of the time I will actually, if I trim this, I'll let it sit for even like 30 minutes or an hour just to firm up a little bit. And you can see, even though I'm touching all the insides of this, I'm not really deforming it or anything. Yesterday, I could have squeezed this and it would have deformed, but right now it's just a little bit firmer to the point where I can grab it and I'm not super concerned about deforming it. The other thing that helps is here I just have a piece of foam. So if I got to set it down, or even if I have to rest it on the edge like that, it's not going on a hard table where you could like dent the side. I'm trying to keep it just kind of gently sitting on there.
And I forgot to mention with that discount, DiamondCore Tools is doing that today only, but they're also doing free shipping in the US. So domestic shipping is free as well today only. So that's a really great deal.
So the P11. So this last section, I'm going to do just the V-tips. So I got a P11, which is our wide V-tip, and then our classic P1, which I'm sure everyone's seen a bunch. Works well. So again, these are all curved blades right now. And then you'll notice on the V-tips, whenever you kind of enter and exit the clay, you get a very tapered to a point line. So again, that has a completely different look and feel than the squares, for example. And so when you do your entire piece with a V-tip, it gives it a completely different look. Or if you're trying to go for specific sharp corner features, you can do that. And I'll show you a few tricks where you can actually blend these tools and create some unique effects. So again, that was the P1, and this will be the P12. So the P12 is a straight V-tip. And you'll notice even compared to the P1, it just leaves a very skinny, crisp line. Okay, so now that I got here, I've got all the different types kind of going around. It'll show you one. So here's the curved square, the straight square, curved U, straight U, and then the V-tips. And so what I'll do now is, once I have kind of like the basics going all over, I like to come back and add in some little details. So now I'm going to use my all-time favorite, P20. I'm going to kind of turn these triangles into some sort of flowery looking things. Pull that through. I might use the P15 again just to help clear this out. So again, the square blades I really like for kind of their geometric grooves. So just add some little features in here. So it'll be the same thing in this one. And then I will recommend if you're doing a pattern, as soon as you start to use a bunch of different tools, if you're doing a pattern, what I will do is use the same tool and I'll go around and do every one step kind of all the same. That way it's very repeatable. We'll go with these with the straight square. Third view, the P13. And straight view. So I actually did the V tips with the square.
This bowl is going to be a great reference tool when you're done.
Oh yeah, so it helps to kind of show everyone. Again, like we have a lot of customers that will walk in here, and we have some little tiles. So if anyone's ever in San Diego, come carve some tiles. But it really helps to actually just see the difference in all these. I think a lot of people think we just have like a V tip or maybe a U tip or something. The square tips again are kind of underrated, and you can do a lot of really interesting little features. So again, with these square tips, I'm sort of squaring off these little flower patterns, and it just makes it look very geometric. So again, what I would do is probably put glaze in here and wipe it off, and you get a very intricate glaze pattern. So that would be like a completed square side. The same thing, straight. And then one other thing, so here are two spots where I had a very large, wide square tip, and I couldn't quite get into that corner. So something I might do is actually come back with like the 1 millimeter square, and on either one of these, I'll actually do it on the curved side first, is I'll use this to get further into that corner. And you can make a really nice square edge.
So I've got 2 minutes left before we have to wrap it up today. I've got a question. I have two ball tip tools that always leave a lot of shards. Should I work with the clay wetter to fix that?
If you got the ball tip, that's probably a sgraffito. I would recommend going the other direction to more of a dry, like bone dry. So what happens on the sgraffito tools, if you get too wet or too leather hard, they will get kind of gummed up, and you end up just dragging it through the clay anyway. So the ball tip sgraffito tools are really good for bone dry. When you're fully bone dry, you'll get a much cleaner edge. So that'd be my recommendation on this. And then kind of lastly, you kind of saw what I was doing there with the squares. I'll skip ahead a little bit. So what I would do with the U is finish it with more of a U-shape pattern. Or a curve, I should say. U-shaped tools are great for that.
So if folks have questions about your demo today and they want to get in touch with you, should they email DiamondCore Tools? Should they email you?
You can email DiamondCore Tools and it'll find its way to me, and then I can respond directly, or we might end up doing some more live demos or something on Instagram if we get a lot of questions. So, yeah, feel free to you can email our info account. Yeah, any questions, again, they'll make their way to me. So, and then also you can comment on Instagram and we'll do our best to answer. But we do have plans to kind of do some more videos. So if you're looking for something specific or you want me to demo something, then just send it over. So you will see it pretty there.
Yeah, and will you share that bowl when you're done carving it? Will you put that up on your social and DiamondCore Tools, and I'll put it out there for all the folks on ClayShare. So
send you some pictures.
Yeah, get some photos. Thank you. So I'm sorry we're out of time. There's so many questions came in. I got as many as I could. But again, if you have more questions, you can reach out to Nicholai or DiamondCore Tools and they'll help you out. And I'll share that bowl when he gets it up there, and we'll put that out. Thank you so much for joining us for this today and being part of ClayShare's
day. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Now you can save 10% off on everything but the pottery sink. at DiamondCore Tools. And they're doing free shipping today. So don't miss out. And that free shipping's for domestic only in the US. And we're doing, as part of the giveaway I mentioned earlier, they're doing 4 sets of DiamondCore tools. So we're going to be giving those away in the giveaway part today, which is coming up at 7:45. So we're going to have a little break, and then we'll be back with Drew Seymour from Clayscapes Pottery. He is going to be showing you how to mix glazes. So many people have questions about how to mix glazes, what's the right consistency, and he's going to answer your glaze questions. And we had a few people asking about supply issues, so maybe he'll go into that a little bit as well. So come back and join us for that at 6 p.m. Eastern. See y'all then.